Do you like Blade Runner? Do you like anime like Ghost in the Shell? Did you watch Cyberpunk on Netflix and like it? Then this anime is for you. So guys, how are you? I hope you're doing well. I'm the Monio, the interdimensional demon who talks the most about sci-fi anime on YouTube, and you're on my channel. And it finally arrived on Netflix, one of the best animes of this year, which is already complete, but unfortunately it's not being talked about that much. I'm talking about Pluto, an adaptation that brings together good animation, sensational direction, and an incredible story, all of this very well adapted from the original manga to this anime, and yes, it is a manga adaptation. Pluto is an anime that adapts the work of Naoki Urasawa, author of other stories such as Monster, and the original manga is from 2003. It reinterprets one of the classic Astro Boy stories by Osamu Tezuka, where the story is inspired by the original, but it differs due to its visual style and a much more adult and dense script, written by Urasawa. This difference can be understood by the fact that Astro Boy is a YA story, which falls into the shounen demographic, and Pluto is released into the seinen demographic, for adults. But the Monio, what is Pluto about? Why should I watch? Well, as much as the initial synopsis shows yet another futuristic sci-fi society, the anime is much more than just that. At the beginning of the story, we are shown a futuristic society where we are not told exactly what year it is, but it is a society in which human beings have begun to coexist with highly advanced artificial intelligences on an increasingly frequent basis, where robots they are already part of society, but not like in most stories where they don't have much personality and are limited to serving humans. Here the robots already have a certain autonomy within society, to the point that they are able to get married, start a family, have privately owned assets, among some other basic rights. Codes of ethics, behavior, and protection for robots also exist, and this is due to the fact that artificial intelligence has evolved so much, to the point where robots have an extremely complex and advanced consciousness, as they are able to emulate feelings, anguish, internal conflicts. Some of them even have the ability to dream when they sleep, yet they are still programmed with the 3 laws of robotics according to Asimov. Within this context, very interesting discussions and dilemmas about the purpose of these robots in the world, and what they have become, are approached in a very organic way. As the story progresses, we get to know other trajectories of other characters, and discuss through these robots, increasingly personified in practically human figures, what differentiates a machine from a human being. Can feelings be mimicked, taught, or can intelligence artificial person can feel them for herself? Something interesting about robots is that some of them have a completely metallic design, others are androids, which are robots with a human appearance, which is the case of the character we follow at the beginning, which is Gesicht, who is called the robot detective, which is actually an android, as I already said. But anyway, Gesicht does investigations. In this world of robots, 7 of them are considered the most advanced and practically perfect. One of them had a very important role in the environment, to preserve nature and animals, and he was very loved by everyone, being a great symbol of inspiration, hope, and unity for all humanity, and it is destroyed at the beginning of the first episode, and it is in this context that Gesicht emerges as the main character. It is through this character that we will learn more about the world, as well as the initial plot of the story, which is a series of murders that are showing a similar pattern, and that seem to be humanly impossible, but that technically could not have been done by a robot. From then on, many mysteries are established, and as the story progresses, several twists in the script are presented and make the story increasingly interesting. In addition to the main plot, the anime presents other subplots, which involve secondary characters and which have no connection with the main plot, but which serve to understand concepts and what the anime plans to address. In the first episode, we have the story of a retired musician who hires a robot from a specialized agency, and this robot is a former combatant who now doesn't want to go back to war. At first, the man appears hostile to the robot, as he considers him a war machine, devoid of emotions. Despite the robot showing interest in learning music, little by little many things are revealed about the man and bonds are created, making this story isolated, extremely touching and beautiful. These isolated arcs, despite not seeming like they help the main plot, in fact they help to contextualize us about what this society is, what are the main countries, conflicts, a history of war, what this war involved, and what were the consequences. In general, I would say that there are a huge number of very interesting characters, who are increasingly worked on as the episodes go by, and many of these characters are in some way involved with wars or conflicts, which makes their attitudes questionable, but realistic. Taking into account the situations, since we don't necessarily have heroes or villains here, since we are talking about wars, then what exists are truths according to the point of view, and motivations that you can consider right or wrong, and yes, I am trying to talk about everything in a spoiler-free way. Animes don't always manage to adapt excellent art and text from the original manga, but in Pluto they managed it very competently. In addition to keeping the drawings faithful to the manga without distorting it, the use of colors here is very efficient in conveying emotions, especially when showing a dense, dark or heavy scene. And the soundtrack is also a highlight here, and this is something I highlight when I talk about an anime, but the soundtrack proves to be very important in the first episode. The 2D animation here is of great quality, but also modern animation techniques here, such as the use of 3D to complement 2D and create fluid and visually interesting scenes. Although these more modern effects are present, the entire aesthetic and especially the style of character design has a very retro look and is close to science fiction anime that we saw in the 80s. So if you like the nostalgia of this aesthetic that is a little older, you will like what you will see in Pluto. The anime only has 8 episodes, which may seem short, but each episode is about an hour long on average, which is a decision I didn't quite understand, as some episodes have isolated stories within them, so I think that it would be more interesting to divide the episodes more, so that it doesn't seem too tiring to have to face an hour of animation right from the start. I believe that one of Pluto's only flaws is that it takes a while to draw you into the story, and what I say to you, who are going to watch the first episode, is, be patient. I know that current animes, often those that are successful, are those that give you an impact in just a few minutes, and here this doesn't happen in such an exaggerated way as in other animes. The story starts slowly and develops without rushing, but the story becomes very satisfying as time goes on, as the mysteries are revealed and the characters deepen. So if you like sci-fi, stories with complex characters, mysteries and action, I believe that Pluto will give you all of this, and give you many interesting points of view, which can be addressed in our world, in the not-so-distant future. So my tip is, watch it without rushing and you won't regret it. The Pluto manga was already an incredible story, but now it has been greatly enhanced in these 8 episodes of the anime, and I am very happy to recommend it to you here who follow this humble channel. So, have you watched the first episode yet? Have you finished the anime yet? Leave it in the comments, and if you like the video, subscribe to the channel to follow the next content. That's it, my people. Demonic hugs.